we go. Okay, this is equations with variables on both sides. And today is the 14th. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a demonstration of algebra tiles before we solve with no algebra tiles. Here's my first problem. 6n minus 1 equals 4n minus 5. Okay, couple quick things you need to know. This is x. This is negative x. This is 1. This is negative 1. Whoops, there we go. So when we're drawing our stuff out, this is what it's going to look like. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this side out, which is 6n minus 1. So I have 6 n's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These should be shaded because they're positives. Your shading doesn't have to be perfect, but just good enough that we can tell. I have a negative 1, so I draw out a negative 1. On the other side, I need to draw out 4 n's. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are shaded again because they are positive. And then I have 5 negatives. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my problem drawn out in algebra tiles. So my first step is going to be to move the constants to one side. So there's only 1 here, so I want to move this to this side. In order to move something, I have to create a 0 pair by using the inverse operation. So this is a negative 1, which means that my first step is going to be to take and put a positive 1 on both sides. When I do that, this and this creates a 0 pair, and this creates a 0 pair. So now I'm left with 6n. Again, these are shaded. Whoops. These are shaded because they are positive. So I'm left with 6n is equal to 4n minus 4. So my next step is to then get all of my variables on a side. So there's less of these, so I'm going to choose to move these over just because I don't want to draw as much, right? So if these are 4 positives, in order to make a 0 pair, I need to do the inverse, which would be 4 negatives. And then I need to put 4 negatives on this side. When I do that, these 4 negatives and these 4 negatives make a 0 pair. These 4 negatives and these 4 negatives make a 0 pair. So now what I'm going to be left with is 2 x's and 4 negatives. I ran out of room, so I have to draw on the next page. Sorry, everyone. So again, when I did that, I was left with 2 x's is equal to 4 negatives. Now at this point, I need to only have 1 x equal to something, which means I need to divide. So if we know about division, we know that it is groups of something. So if I have two x's, I need to make two equal groups over here. So I would have 1x is equal to -2. So if you saw up here, there's one group, there's two groups, so x equals -2, x equals -2. There you have it. Now, some of us think that probably this is a little bit more confusing than actual numbers. So I'm going to show you now a problem with some actual numbers to see what it would look like. So here's my next example. I have 3x minus 7 is equal to 8x plus 23. Okay. I like to always rewrite my problem. I never want to use the original problem to start my math. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move all my constants to one side. I'm going to move this 7 over to this side by using the inverse. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. I'm left with 3x equals 8x plus 30. Now I need all my variables to one side in order to isolate them. So I'm going to take this 8x and I'm going to move it over to the other side. So I use the inverse, negative 8x. This made that 0 pair we talked about. So now I have a negative 5x equals 30. This is touching. Touching means multiplication. So the inverse is to divide. So I'm going to divide by a -5, divide by a -5. One thing I want everyone to notice is that when I divide, I use a fraction bar. No one should use a division sign like in 5th grade. Does everyone hear me say that? Okay, you have to write it as a fraction bar. Then, anytime I have the numerator and denominator the same in a fraction, it creates one whole. So I'm left with x equals -6. And then we have to check to make sure we did our math correctly. So I come over here to do my check. I rewrite the problem. 3x minus 7 is equal to 8x plus 23. I'm going to substitute in the -6 for x. When I substitute, I put it into parentheses. Now I go about simplifying. So first thing would be 3 times -6. -18 minus 7 equals 8 times -6, -48 plus 23. Over here, -18, -7 makes -25. And over here, I end up with a -25. So yes, my math works. There you have it. That is solving an equation with variables on both sides.